Learn Chinese in Singapore. Singapore wouldn't be the first place most people think of when they should go to study Mandarin abroad. Well, but actually it is a very good choice. And it's not that well known, but actually Singapore is really quite attractive to study Mandarin in. Now, let me give you 5 reasons why Singapore is a good place to study Mandarin and how you should do it. And then, again, 3 reasons why maybe it's not. Now, the first thing is 80% of the population of Singapore is Chinese. Mandarin is one of the official languages. Mandarin is by far the most spoken language at home in Singapore. And Singapore is a Mandarin-speaking city. There are other languages too, but Mandarin is very, very big in Singapore. And secondly, you will be surrounded by Mandarin in Singapore all the time. You'll hear it, you'll see it, you'll hear it in the radio. If you get in a taxi from the airport coming home in Singapore, the taxi driver will most likely be playing Chinese language radio programs. You'll be speaking in Mandarin to you. So you really have a lot of Mandarin around you. They use simplified Chinese characters by now. Since the 1970s, it's changed from traditional to simplified. And really Mandarin is around you all the time in Singapore. Thirdly, Singapore is a very open city. It's probably one of the most open countries in the world you could possibly go to. So while Mandarin is spoken a lot, loads of other languages are too. Of course, maybe English, but also Malay, Tamil. Singapore has 4 official languages: Mandarin, English, Malay, and Tamil. You hear languages from all over the world, and you will hear people from all over the world. So people from all over the planet come together in Singapore there to start their businesses, to study, to work, to live, to travel, to enjoy and have a lot of fun. So Singapore is probably one of the most open cities and international places you can be in the world. Number 4, Singapore is a tropical island. It never gets cold in Singapore. Beaches, palm trees, great swimming opportunities. You're in the tropics, right? So Singapore is always warm. You can always have a beach barbecue in Singapore. There is no day of the year you could not go swimming in the ocean. So it's a tropical island holiday to a certain extent. So the climate there is really very, very nice. And fifthly, Singapore is a fantastic travel hub. So Singapore Airport is one of the best in the world. It has direct flights to pretty much everywhere in the world, and it's really fantastic to get away. Even just for a weekend, people often travel to Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, because it's so close and so easy to get to. So you really have direct flights. Even Sri Lanka, Philippines, Taiwan, Vietnam are all very, very close to flying to. So getting from Singapore to around the region, exploring Southeast Asia is a fantastic place for that. And so you really get a lot of interesting traveling done in Singapore. And this is really unique because you have such a great airport there. It's very centrally located and it's so easy to get in and out. So just for a weekend, you go and explore. It's really quite fun. All right, let me now give you 3 reasons why Singapore is maybe not the right place for you to study Mandarin. The first one is, of course, immersion. So while Mandarin is very widely spoken, 80% of the population is Chinese. Other languages are very widely spoken, especially English. So you will be surrounded by English a lot. And many, many people in Singapore do speak English. So you get around with English without any problems. So unless you are in a homestay family or in a quite Chinese environment there, which very much exists, but in many other places it does not, you're just fine with English and you are not very much forced to get out of your comfort zone to speak Chinese. So the immersion environment in Singapore is not as good as in other Chinese-speaking cities. The second one definitely is cost. Now, Singapore is one of the world's most attractive cities to work, study, and develop yourself in, and it's really not cheap. So Singapore is really probably one of the most expensive places to go and study in. So that is something you have to keep in mind. If you go, for example, to Beihai or Xi'an or Chengdu, you will be paying significantly less for pretty much everything. So the costs in Singapore are definitely something you need to consider, especially if you're on a budget. And number 3 is Singapore has no seasons. Now this was something when I first came to Singapore, I thought, oh, fantastic, tropical island, oh, that's really nice. But then after a while you discover, well, it's always hot. So you have no winter, there is no change of pace in the year. it just stays hot the whole year round. So you never have spring, autumn, summer and winter, especially when you're staying longer. This is not for everyone, and for me this was always something that I found a little bit difficult to deal with. So overall, Singapore is a really great place to study Mandarin in, but it's very different to other cities. So you have to really think about if it is the right place for you or if it is not. A bit more expensive, more English around, not as immersive, but at the same time very open, very international, easy to settle in, very exciting people to meet there, fantastic food by the way, tropical hot weather, and one little thing, when you speak Mandarin as a foreigner in Singapore, you'll be treated like a rock star, because there are most foreigners there, they do not bother to learn Chinese, and if you do speak Chinese, you do get a lot of respect, and it's quite fun. Alright, Singapore, study Chinese there.